Okay, welcome everybody to Mori, episode 0 from the podcast. I'm here with the boys. Say hi.
Hello,
Hi.
I'm the boys. I'm part of the boys, right?
Yeah.
Am I?
Pretty
Oh,
much, pretty much.
I'm one of the boys. That there was a delayed reaction for that for sure.
Indeed.
Maybe a little introduction of everybody, just general thing what you do.
Well, I am. Everybody calls me Phantom, because it's shorter that way, and
Mm,
I
any big
am
interest?
an amateur artist.
Okay.
So yeah, I draw stuff.
You drew your icon.
Okay.
No, I wish I could. I wish I did.
Okay.
You
I
are
don't
luck?
recognize it. What's it from?
This icon.
Yeah.
Oh, it's an original work by an author I met on the. Basically, I was going through YouTube and I got a recommendation. There was like aggressive funk mix. So there was this picture thumbnail, and I followed through to the author's DeviantArt profile, and there was a lot of cool works. So I found one that I really liked, and I got it. It was
DeviantArt, hi.
originally pink. It was pink originally. I got it through some color filters,
Cool.
and now it's green.
Well, I'm Captain Hardluck. I stole the show there. So I run Liagiverse, facebook.com/Liagiverse. And you can go on YouTube. I think it's like youtube.com/@Liagiverse now because we have the handles right. And I make a lot of content specifically about Leiji Matsumoto, but I enjoy other anime as well. A lot of sci fantasy. Definitely have a love for that. And really epic shit.
A lot of retro
So,
stuff.
yeah.
Okay, it's my turn now, I guess.
Okay, you come.
Okay, nice to meet you
Yeah.
guys. I am
Easy.
Koma. I've met Mars on Discord a few years ago, and now we are in a couple of Discord servers together about manga specifically. Basically, I like manga, but I also watch anime sometimes. I used to watch more in the past, but lately I've kind of lost interest. Basically, I prefer to read than watch. But it depends on the period. I hope I will get back at anime soon enough. Online, I mainly participate in communities, and I also occasionally translate manga for a translation
like mine.
group. Yes, like the one that Mars found in an old Italian magazine in Italy, the From Beyond by Koji Mikomo. I have translated the first one shot, and the second one should came out soon. I hope.
Yeah, one where.
Yes,
Yeah,
the
one
one.
day they're a bit slow on that. Basically, it was. Yeah, it's basically a magazine from Italy, Kappa magazine, a real cheap magazine that took everything from the afternoon magazine from Japan.
Yes.
So there was this two chapters of one artist that I'd never seen anywhere before, and really really good art. Like it's on manga decks now from the Beyond, so it's fully translated. So you can check that out. There's a bit of H.P. Lovecraft inspirations, like Shadow Out of Time has a bit of inspiration. It's pretty good. It's pretty good art. So I want to translate the whole thing by Koma, then scan it myself in, then go to another Discord to ask a big manga Twitter news guy that made a tweet to uncover who did it, what years, and where it was published in. It was published in afternoon in the 90s, and 90s begin 90s. So, but beyond that, we just know that he had an award back in the day, and then after that, nothing much else. If he did anything else, I have no clue. Maybe that was just it, or we still need to deep dive on that. So, it was a nice journey. I'm like completely found it by chance, and I skimmed a lot of like a lot of interviews, a lot of sometimes manga, even CDs. Anything that catches me interest, mostly from manga like Tomie or Kyurei Hasaida from the manga Doro. So yeah, I do all kinds of stuff. Also, I'm manga and anime fan, so lots of obscure stuff, lots of 80 stuff, lots of whatever. Really, I'm basically interested in lots of things. So yeah, that's about it, really. So here we're talking about science fiction mostly and obscure stuff that we know or that we have found over time, and anything in between, basically movies, DVDs, whatnot. So yeah, that's my introduction for that.
All
So,
right.
has anybody watched kind of movies?
What movies?
Yeah, science fiction movies or any kind of movies or anything interesting that catched your eye.
Well, I've been rewatching Star Blazers, which is the English adaptation of Space Battleship Yamato, in an attempt to get a podcast together on the sort of first movement of the Yamato story. The first, I think it was 26 maybe episodes. They cut it down in its original run because it couldn't take on Heidi, Girl of the Alps, monumental force in Japanese culture.
Yeah, I watched it.
Yeah. So, but Star Blazers, won out in the end, I think. So that's been interesting, and I've noted that I don't know if you guys are familiar with the character Dessler from Star Blazers. He's given in a Deslock or Dessler. Yeah, well, he's a bit of a. Well, there's a lot of World War II references in Yamato, right? We're all aware of that, right?
Well, yeah, the ships look like.
So it should be right. It looks like the warship, the Yamato. So it should be no surprise that the antagonist is. Hitler.
I'm not that good at that.
Wait, really?
Essentially, Space Hitler, space alien Hitler. Yeah,
not literally Hitler.
Not
literally Hitler.
I mean, I thought literally a certain general something.
Yeah, it's a few hundred years in the future or some. But yeah, so Space Hitler is Dessler, and in Japanese he has kind of a deep laugh and a maniacal like right, typical villain shit.
Yeah, that's typical.
Yeah, yes, but in America he legit sounds like Chris Chan.
Oh,
like who?
That should be fine.
Why?
It's bad.
Why?
It's bad. It's because it's the 70s and they wanted to portray the Hitler character in a particular way.
They want to make him extra bad.
Well, they wanted extra bad for the culture of the 70s. We'll put it that way. Yeah. Yeah, so that's what I've been watching. Not movies, but episodes.
Yeah. Okay. I've been watching Pitch Black like last week, like this movie with Redrick. Basically, if you ever saw that, was literally a space movie. They land on a moon, or no, on a planet with aliens that come only out in the dark. An eclipse happens, and everything basically went to shit. And it has this lot of early 2000s effects and this kind of feel really for the feel of that time. And there's a big following from the time. I mean, still has, because it's just the main character is more like this half mysterious character that's been in prison and haunted people and haunted aliens and whatnot. You don't really know what his motive is and what he's about and why he's doing all of this, and you have to survive and and it's pretty. I mean, I found it a pretty good movie, and beyond that, so that was a pretty cool movie, you would say. Beyond that, I mean, recently been watching Pet Labor TV series, been to episode 8. It was also pretty good. It's not like over the top, like it's now, like overly cute and overly tits and whatnot. It's more like just a normal show, you can say. I mean, for the time, it's a pretty normal show. So it keeps it interesting with all the robot police and how to get other robots in place. And it's like kind of wartime, but kind of far in the future that robots have run rampant, and a sort of robot police force that has kind of smaller mechs. You can't say that it's really Gundam, but it's a bit smaller than that. So yeah, you have that, and yeah, a lot of other stuff. I've also been to Kaboom Anime, which is basically a big festival that has constantly every month a anime movie coming out, like Battle of Sadness. I've seen that, Evangelion, Wicked City, and all kinds of movies. It was pretty interesting to see that finally in the cinema. They never do that, those kinds. They never do that. It's practically impossible.
What do they never do?
So anybody?
What do they never do?
They never show like retro anime. You know, the retro anime like Wicked City or
Racer anime?
Yeah, basically, it's just your 80s anime, your 90s anime, your OVAs, your movies from
Okay.
the 70s. They never show that in cinema. And that's like an exception for this, especially I live in the Netherlands myself, so I never see these kinds of things pop up ever. It's almost like, you know, the more seasonal stuff that comes out, like more modern stuff, like your One Piece, your Bleach, your whatnot. So it's pretty good. It's pretty good that finally gets a screen, and almost the whole thing is completely sold out, and people just coming in there. So like it's more popular than I ever thought it would be, especially here, because but it's in Amsterdam, so it's, you know, there's also a lot of tourists, so it has a bigger chance to get more people into it. So I mean, that's a plus for that. I mean, beyond that, yeah. I know the cinema is there. I mean, in America, they show a lot of anime in cinemas. I've heard, like your Akira, your Ghost in the Shell, or your Nier movies, but I don't really remember.
Well, the small movie theater not as attended these days in America. Definitely after the pandemic, not as much of that going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're still limited runs and things like that do happen, mostly in more major metropolitan areas, which currently I'm not in. So hit or miss. Hit or miss depends where you're at in America. America's spread out.
Yeah. Of course, the more bigger cities have a bigger chance to have some. Yeah.
Especially with anime. Something came out recently, and I was like, "There's no way." Like, I live next to a casino. That's where the movie theater is. So, you know, are they going to have anime there? Maybe. I think they had the Bob's Burger movie for like a week. That's it.
Oh, that. Okay. It's a bit of a weird thing to show on cinema, but why not? I mean, it's more American than.
I didn't think it would be such a limited run, but yeah.
Okay.
It's not a Bob
Koma, you're in
Burgers
Italy.
podcast.
Yeah, see, I am in Italy.
Nah. See. Cinema, anime. How's that going there?
You mean anime in Italy? You want to know the scene here? Fairly strong, but for the most part, only for the most popular series. Like the home video market is borderline now. There are a few publishers, but I wouldn't call it strong. We have Crunchyroll here, much like everywhere else, where anime gets also dubbed in Italian. And personally, I'm not interested in watching anime in Italian. But yeah.
Do you read it in Italian or no?
Yeah, also I read manga in Italian if I find some that are interesting, and I can say that the manga scene in Italian is fairly big, maybe not as big as the French one, but we are getting many cool series. There are not much about sci-fi, but other genre. We have historical manga, like Kazuo Kamimura manga. I don't know if you know the author, the one that did Lady Is No Blood. Basically, the same
lots
manga
of obscure stuff.
Inspired Quentin Tarantino in doing Kill Bill. We are getting a new manga from that author here, but there are so many manga actually that are being published in Italy nowadays that it's hard to keep track of them. And
there's actually I wanted to bring up one more too. Leiji Matsumoto's been getting some old series localized in Italy.
Yes, that is true. We have a group of people that made like an association group that is tied to Leiji Matsumoto himself.
Is it just like Association de la?
It's
Leiji
like a
Matsumoto?
fun.
I'm in contact with like the David Vivaldi. I think is one of the leaders of that. So
it's called Associazione Culturale Leiji Matsumoto. Yeah. So yeah, basically manga from Leiji Matsumoto are being brought in Italy also thanks to them, and they also are doing limited editions for those manga, like limited prints.
Razor Bon.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, and Totoro, and then they're published. I think you guys got books as well, novels, Leiji Matsumoto novels.
I'm not entirely sure. We got many manga from Leiji Matsumoto, like Galaxy Express, Queen Millennia, Captain Harlock, many others, like The Ring of the Nibelunghi. I don't know how it's called in Italy. The Wagner one.
Harlock Saga in
Harlock
America.
Saga, yes, that one was also licensed. Some of this stuff is out of print now, unfortunately. So if someone wanted to read them, they need to pay extra money.
As somebody who runs a community about Matsumoto, I just want to say how incredible it is that a fan project has become like a publisher. And I shouldn't have said community. I don't like the term community. It's more of a fan
yes,
project.
because we got anime made out from Leiji Matsumoto mangas since the 70s. So people that grew up with those anime basically wanted to bring more of Leiji Matsumoto. They got together to create this project, this Associazione Culturale, and that is about it. They invited Matsumoto himself. They in multiple occasions, multiple conventions. The last one was not so good because he felt sick and he needed to get hospitalized. Sorry for my bad
Yeah.
English, of course. I'm
Oh,
not
No,
used to
no,
speak.
that's exactly right,
Shit,
though.
shit.
It was a couple years ago and very unfortunate.
Yes.
But
I have
Yeah.
no clue about how popular Leiji Matsumoto is abroad, like in English, in America, or in the UK.
In English, not that much. I mean, I haven't seen that much manga pop up from him here. I mean, maybe
so the
one or two,
latest
but
thing, well, there's two latest things, but the latest thing that's more relevant to anime fans is a Submarine Super 99 that got put out on Blu-ray by Discotech. That actually came out on my birthday, which was kind of crazy. It was like right after I started the page. And that was cool. And then there's something else coming out now they did character designs for, which is called the Law of Kokoro Zashi, which is just like an educational thing for children. He did character designs for. So that's kind of cool. It's like a little educational book you would read in, like, you know, elementary school or whatever primary school you guys have, with Matsumoto in it. It's cool. It's about children finding their dreams, and which I think is, you know, that's Leiji Matsumoto in a nutshell. So it's kind of cool.
lots of different manga stores just pop up everywhere. I mean, lots of are not open during midday because it was way too warm. They're constantly 30
there is
degrees
even more
constantly,
novels.
but
Well, there are many manga that it's hard to even picture them being licensed outside of Japan, unfortunately.
Yeah, there's
yeah,
simply too much.
Italy and France do a lot more.
I feel like the technology for translation and the system is so antiquated and probably needs a healthy dose of, you know, AI or something to get these translations done faster.
There are already
Yeah, would
projects
it be so good though?
of AI used for translation, and
Oh, good.
there will be probably more popping up, and I think Google is probably already using something like machine learning for its translator. It will get better. That's what I
Right.
think. And at some point, it will like become quite good enough.
Well, the question is, what are the Japanese publishers doing? And I don't think we know. As far as AI translation goes and getting manga into other countries faster, because the demand is there.
I think they don't give a fuck.
I mean, they do it more traditionally still in Japan.
Like, Japanese, for the most part, only care about their own market, basically, as far as I know.
Yeah, but they can only do that for so long.
Well, they mostly make stuff for
but
themselves.
They have a dying population. They have to expand their culture.
Well,
yeah, I mean, lots of major studios still don't even know that lots of English viewers or English readers read their stuff. So that's kind of mind-boggling that they still don't know. They just stay closed up for so damn long, so that they just keep it in their own waters, and they just don't think about, hey, what the rest of the world doing while they're still publishing stuff to the West and get rights and whatnot. But yeah,
it might very well be the language barrier.
Koma, do you know Cedric Latore?
Oh, yeah.
I think
sorry, can you repeat?
Sorry, go on. Go ahead.
I think a lot of Japanese don't know English.
Oh no! They even get it real bad in school with that. They get just real bad pronunciations or how to say certain words. So we say dog, they say dogu. We say poster, they say posteru, or something like that, and it just adds syllables to it and words to it. So you get this really broken English out of it. So there's also a kind of a problem in there. Educational system with that, so that's why
that is because of how Japanese is the language itself is made. Like they use katakana to write and foreign words like dog, hospital, and stuff like that. And it's basically another way to say things in English rather than English itself. I don't know how to explain it, but
Yeah, it's more like a trend they use it.
if you read about katakana, you will understand like it's how it works for them. In fact, if you say something in English, they may not understand, but if you say the same word using the katakana spelling, they will probably understand, like pocchetto instead of pocket. They say pocchetto. And they add it. I know it's weird, but this is how they do the things.
Yeah, it's amazing how different or like the perception is of language. Like just
Yes.
saying it in another way can mean the difference between understanding it and not understanding it.
Yes, but
Yeah.
getting back to the topic about AI translation, I strongly feel that even if you find a way to translate stuff from a language to another, it still needs proofreading from an actual person and actually quality, like if the quality is acceptable or not. Because
Well, what I would just interject though and just say that, you know, we have a lot more people that know about Japanese culture than we have people that know how to translate Japanese to English. And I think that with some proofing, you know, AI could get you could save enough man hours that overall it would revolutionize the process.
Interesting thing here. I use Firefox with an add-on, with a plugin basically, that uses Yandex browser. That uses the Yandex translator to translate strings of text that I move my mouse over, and it's very useful for traversing Japanese sites like Twitter posts. Very useful, very quick. You don't need to open a separate page or anything, and it's quite good. It's very much understandable, like what it's trying to say.
Yeah.
So
Like,
I don't
I
think it would
use
take much to take a
mostly-
result like that and move it into something that's consumable by the general public.
Yeah.
the
I mean,
issue
depends
is-
who does it. I mean, Google's
Yeah.
not
Oh, it
too
always
good
does.
at the
It still
translation.
does right now. So what's the difference? You know?
in
I
my
mean,
opinion,
there's a long way to go.
is
Koma,
not
what did you
much.
say?
In my opinion, the issue is not much about how quick a translation can be done. Rather, the other issues about publishing, like getting the license, printing the books, like the distributions, and many other things. I think that translating something from scratch is fairly straightforward. Like for manga of 2000 pages, it takes usually 10 days, maybe less, depending on the manga, how many pages and how hard.
So you're saying
the
we don't have a bandwidth issue in the Department of Translation. You're saying we have enough people who are able to translate from Japanese to the respective area, and then that's not what's holding the process back or making it more expensive.
I think not. I think it's because there are many issues right now, like the cost for paper has grown. In fact, I think American publishers for manga have started to print books abroad, like in India, in Europe even, because in that way they will cut the costs of the materials. But paper itself has become more expensive in the past.
But we're
couple
not
of
bound
years.
by the paper. We're not bound by paper to release media.
Yes, you are not.
No.
you have
I
a
mean,
decent digital market, I think.
yeah, I mean, the difference between all these countries, yeah, like France and Italy, they just exactly copy what the Japanese do for printing. They have dust covers, they have their weak pages, and the covers are not that great. The English does it a bit better, but they don't have the covers, or the volumes are a bit bigger, or the paper is just standard. But it's just a difference between that, and that's why the costs are so low in France and Italy, because they can do both, and so they can make a lot more money because they can sell a lot more, because they're like 6 or 7 euros most of the time, and here in Netherlands, for instance, you can get one for like 11, 12 euros or something, or even 15, 16. For a master edition is often like 20, 30 euros. So the cost goes up. I mean, and now with paper being at so high price nowadays, it gets a lot more higher now, but still that sells a little bit more. And obviously with Italy having a history of getting more obscure stuff getting into the market, and way more series that are in Japan, and France even more. I mean, France was until recently the biggest manga market next to Japan. It was the second largest to Japan, and that makes a lot of sense because they're constantly working on that. It's a country that's just focused on comics, books, and whatnot, and biggest artists like Mobius and whatnot. So it makes a lot of sense that they would be on the top of that, and they just print as much as Japan prints itself manga. So it makes sense.
I got a question.
Way more
I got a
popular.
question. I got a question about France. Okay, why do you think French artists, beyond like a little bump in the 70s, never really grasps the international audience in the way that, you know, American comics did and Japanese manga has? I mean, what do you think kind of held France back? Because it's so notable, it's so influential, you know?
Yeah, I guess more in their own country, and in Belgium too, that just worked so well that it didn't really need to translate a lot to the other audience, except for the biggest artists that there are there, so like Mobius, Hershey, etc., etc., etc. So they didn't need to, because it fared so well.
Well,
like
they did.
In the Netherlands, for instance.
They did, because the industry is nowhere near as massive as, you know, American comics or Japanese manga.
Oh no. Oh no. It's a lot.
I think maybe that was an
smaller.
oversight by the French publishers not to pursue translation in the same way. You know, other than, you know, we got heavy metal, right? That's like probably the Frenchest thing most American animation enjoyers, you know, your casual ones, know of.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just a thought. Good stuff though. It definitely inspired Matsumoto and you know, George Lucas and
He lived there for a while, and other mangaka had big influences on that. So it's mostly the big
there are a
ones
lot
that
of French
get out,
people
and
on
the
my
rest-
podcast.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I mean,
well, because of Matsumoto, I mean, it's just huge in France. So
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. I mean, in the Netherlands, like, majority doesn't get translated into Dutch because, well, we're a really small country, so lots of it gets cancelled, or publishers go out of business or whatnot. So a lot doesn't get translated, or just gets translated, or you don't get anything. So
are you waiting for the English release, basically?
Well, I mean, for the big publishers, for all the small publishers, I can wait forever on that, but that never comes. I mean, it's the same with other countries. I mean, if you go to Italy and you wait for French authors, smaller authors, to get translated into Italian, you can also wait forever on that, because they're not really entwined with the French culture of the country. They're more inclined into their own country, because they just they can't speak a lot of other languages. I mean, in France also, same thing, they can speak other languages. I mean, the Netherlands is like one of those the few countries that can speak other languages. I mean, it's the same with England that can only speak English, so they just are entwined in their own culture. So it never really, most of these publishers never go out of their way to translate into other countries, expect if it's really big or got really popular real fast.
Except
For
America.
other reasons. I mean, that's about it. Yeah, except America for some reason. That gets almost everything that's, well, big enough, that is. I mean, I've also comics in France and Italy that are pretty interesting, pretty good, but never get translated in anything else because nobody cares outside of the country that it comes in. So yeah.
Well, Japan
that's
cared.
about it for me.
Japan cared, so I think that's important. You know, I think that's why we're all talking.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, hell, that's why I got so many people from other countries in here, just to get more going, or else we'd just be one country and we had no introspective of other countries how it would work. So.
Well, it's an interesting topic, and I think we don't have all the answers because it's strange. Like every country has its own comics culture. Like in Italy, we have very old comics scene, but outside of Italy, I think it's rare to see stuff like Tex Wheeler or Dylan Dog licensed there. I don't know. It's complicated. Like, it's like if another country has interest or see the potential or of sales in the product, they will try to license it or not. Like, or maybe it's just a matter of exposure. If particular work get appreciation out abroad in a way or another, wins like a competition. But like I said, I think we don't have all the answers here, and it's a topic that would be interesting to learn more about.
Yeah, I think we learn more about it just by talking and you know, interacting about it. I was going to say that, from my knowledge, Italy took to anime exceptionally well. So, and along with France. So, yeah.
Yeah, we and France started probably really soon, since the 70s, I think. I don't know about America.
From what I understand, the super robot genre really connected with Italy. Like,
yes, we got especially Go Nagai TV anime since the early 70s, and also the first Gundam, Goldrake, that also from Nagai. So much stuff actually, and also Matsumoto Leiji stuff.
Dan Gardace was the super robot that he participated in.
Yes. Because of it, we got much sooner into manga anime, but also because of it, the market was kind of stale because most people wanted to stick with those kind of series and rarely went for something else, despite the fact that Japan has so much more to offer. I don't know, but nowadays it's different. We get all sorts of things, same as France, although France is, of course, much more bigger than we are. Yeah, I don't know if you can tell us something about how anime and manga started out in America. That would be interesting.
Well, to our common story is Astro Boy. That's the
yes.
Yeah, Osamu Tezuka's Astro Boy.
Yeah.
And I think we got Gigantor and, you know, Speed Racer. I can't remember if Speed Racer came out before or after Star Blazers. I think, yeah, Speed Racer and then Star Blazers are kind of the... I don't think I would even, you could even remove Gigantor from the conversation, really, because it's pretty much Astro Boy, Speed Racer, and then Star Blazers. Star Blazers to a lesser degree than Speed Racer, but I think that's and then the 80s are a whole different game, and Robotech and Harmony Gold. I don't know if you guys know about Harmony Gold and the Robotech and Macross.
Yeah. I know
versions. Yeah. So the 80s become kind of a cluster, but those three anime are really important: Astro Boy, Speed Racer, and Star Blazers.
Interesting.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
there's no
know
real,
that
like,
for the anime scene.
Sorry, what was that?
I mean, I know for America that in the anime scene, like the first that anime really got anywhere popular was like in the 80s, like early 80s. That for the first conventions, one man was constantly getting tapes from Japan, like these 8mm tapes. Showed him on his hotel, showed him to some friends in a hotel room. That get going, then some translation, and then more and more and more conventions
Well,
just popped up
we could
one after
talk
another.
about the industry before that as well, and Stan Lee and bringing Shogun Warriors, which was an excuse to sell Dan Gardes, Mazinger, probably Goldorak, I forget who, all the Shogun Warrior, but these large scale super robot toys that Marvel wanted to bring over, and they made a comic book series along with it. And so, as far as the industry was concerned, there were definitely a lot of different people kind of pushing for anime to happen and to keep being seen. But as far as the fan community goes, yeah, I'm sure that people were watching shit in hotels constantly, and I know that tapes and subbed tapes, like fan sub tapes, were being sent around in circles, and people were part of
per
mail
mail and
clubs,
per subscription.
Yeah, so those are two different. Those are obviously the two different sides of it. But yeah, you're right. That was definitely happening in conjunction with what was going on in the industry.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, here in the Netherlands, we had also a small manga industry for a while, done by a French publisher, Planet. That was like for like a small 10 years because nobody bought it because it's so small. So we only get your big series like your Death Note, your Bleach, your One Piece or whatnot. And after that, they died out and they completely stopped with that and just got completely into English because nobody buys it eventually.
What about Kaze?
Or
what about the Kana and Kaze?
Koma and Kaze. I mean, for manga, we had only
Edition?
one publisher that really did it. And for anime, it was like the 90s, it really started for us that we got really into it. And then after that, you had some companies that tried to translate or, literally dub in Dutch like in the 80s and 90s.
Oh, sorry, you were talking about Netherlands.
Really?
Sorry, I thought you were talking about France for a second. I could have sworn you were
No.
France.
French publisher that helped us getting manga into
Gotcha.
Netherlands.
Okay, well that's cool. That's cool that you guys had a connection. Somebody was looking out for you.
Yeah, for a while and then died out, and now it's just a few voice actors still playing in anime, like Blade of the Immortal. There are a few characters that are from the Netherlands and come to Japan because we had a historical connection to it. Because we drove goods to them and other stuff, and that's about it. And Samuel Champloo had a few characters in the episodes. Also kind of funny, but yeah, that's about the connection we have to it. Not too damn big, but yeah. That. And for the rest, Hmm.
Anybody else watching anything interesting? I brought up Star Blazers. Anybody else? And I think you brought up something, Mars.
Watching Bad
Phantom. Wait,
Labors
Phantom. What are you
and
bringing
for
up? Wait, Phantom. What
Okay,
are you
okay,
gonna talk
okay.
Fandom,
about?
yeah. I
Um,
haven't heard you in a while.
You've been
if
muted.
if
Sorry.
if we're talking about strictly manga, I
Whatever.
haven't read much about
Whatever, anime,
in terms of
movies,
manga. Okay, but
whatever pops up.
in science fiction, I lately stumbled onto this game, Final Station. If maybe you've heard of it. It's like an indie
Final
game. You
stage.
just yeah, it's you're basically a train driver, and you go through an
Oh,
something like an alien invasion.
Yeah. I've
it's a
seen this.
simulator, you mean? Or
I'm not sure if this could be counted as a spoiler or not, but
I probably have a
the
key for this.
there is a very good idea in it. So in the game's plot, there is there are aliens called visitors that have visited the Earth roughly 100 years ago, and they spread out a sort of virus that made everyone into zombies. But it also made some people like long living, like ascended. Uh, they had white eyes, and they would have increased physical abilities and intelligence and all the other things. And so there the acts of the game happen in the second invasion. So you as a player get to witness that second invasion, and you sort of have to figure it out what is happening. And so the idea is that the aliens are essentially trying to uplift humanity, but in doing so, this virus turns millions into it basically kills them. So there's a
okay,
like
okay.
big moral dilemma in that, and I really like it.
Okay.
We want to elevate humanity. You might die. You're gonna die. We want to bring
Yeah. Like 1 in 1,000 may live, but they will be better, stronger, faster.
everybody that
Smarter.
wants to make us better. Is just but you'll die. By the way, you might die. You'll be dead.
You will probably die, but
You're
you
gonna
might
die.
live.
But enlighten.
Interesting detail. So this virus, it acts depending on your personality. If you're like impulsive, aggressive, you'll be like a fast zombie that just kills everything on sight. Very aggressive as well. But
Bit of that.
if you're like a creative mind that is calm, etc., you will be reborn. So it's like that.
Okay. I mean, akin to that, I know like the manga Biomech. Have you ever heard of that? By the manga Tsomanie. And it's about like a big fires that came out, made a lot of zombies, and one man is sent by a company, Toy Industries, on a motorcycle, on a really high advanced motorcycle, and he tries to stop this virus. Goes to all kinds of different cities, gets a lot of different creatures, and it's just so upgraded, so genetic upgraded, and his wear so upgraded. He's basically can take anything: bullets, electricity, high falls, anything. It's a big cyber epic, basically, with a lot of theories on time travel, teleportation, anything. It's like a big world that kind of plays into it. And his biggest work is like Blame. And Blame is basically this about this huge unending structure that's the system Netsphere built for humans. But due to fires, they lost control of the city, and it kept building and building and building by these giant builders that just build constantly upon it. And their
These
own
robots.
system, their own security system, turned against them and tries to murder anybody that has not this gene. This gene that gives you access to the city, to the main system. Anybody who has the gene can go into the Netsphere. This is like this alternative world, a digital world where you can upload your consciousness to and then live in a separate world, basically. A bit
Starting
like
to sound
the
a little
game
bit like
Soma.
Digimon. I'm just saying, sounds a little bit like Digimon.
It's a lot not like Digimon. No.
There's champions.
It's
I know there's
far
champions.
from it. It's like a cold, desolate world where like one man has this job that has this mission that has to find someone with the gene and get control over the city again. His name is Kiri. Basically, Kiri has this really powerful gun, a gravitational beam emitter that can blast you anything that you can think of. There's a really small gun, but really powerful, and that's also kind of technology and how it works.
It
And
breaks
as you
his
go
arm a
through-
lot.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
the-
yeah.
Yeah, the recoil, yes. The amount
Yeah,
his
yeah,
right
he
arm
does
got
a
broken.
few times.
It
Yeah,
took some
but he just
punishment.
gets reattached and he's just fine, and he just can walk it off like nothing happens, and he's just this highly advanced human in the story. And then later on, he meets scientist, which is a corpse, and the corpse can still talk because it's cybernetic. Then it can upload its own consciousness into a machine, make a different version of itself, and then just help Kiwi further into his mission. It's a wild ride. It's
Sometimes
pretty
these
good.
explanations, I'm just gonna say, sometimes these explanations, it's just like, have you ever been at a family event and you have like a little nephew or niece and they come up to you and they start telling you a story? They start telling you about like something they've been watching. They were like, and then they had the big monster man, and then it was, and you're just trying. This story is pretty crazy.
Yeah,
It's
it's
pretty crazy,
difficult
my man.
to
It is.
understand. You gotta read it to understand this stuff.
Yeah.
It's difficult
There are
to
also-
explain, basically.
So
Yeah.
Thomas has also written notes regarding like explaining some things.
Yeah,
Some things in the manga.
yeah, in his art book.
They
Yeah.
were a very interesting read.
Liner notes.
I was processing for a long time. There was basically something like an art book, I believe, with notes
Yeah.
attached to it.
Blame it so.
Yeah. Cool.
There are a lot of things he basically talks about. For example, the quantum loss of data. There is this net sphere that's supported by the megastructure, by the walls of the city. They contain hardware that supports this giant
That
net.
runs basically.
It runs constantly, and there are people living inside of it, like digital people that were long dead. But
Okay.
There
Yeah,
is-
literally their
but
own
he also talks
consciousness
about quantum loss of
uploaded
data.
to the system.
He also talks about quantum loss of data and how these people, they are basically becoming corrupted with time. So they're no longer like their originals were. And also
Well,
another
yeah,
thing.
isn't that it always ends
Yeah.
up being that way with the AI copy sort of deal. I mean, this is like, what is there an earlier example of this than Galaxy Express 39 in anime? You know, just like putting your brain in a robot body and or like, you know, some sort of cybernetic mainframe or whatever, transhumanism.
I mean, maybe the 40s sci-fi, maybe kind of heard of that they would do that. I mean, maybe Archie the Man of Steel was a comic that kind of had something like that. Someone's consciousness was put in robots and two people were controlling it,
Is that anime?
basically, but it's
I was
still
asking
its
about
own
anime.
character. No, it's
Or
a comic
manga.
from like the
Okay.
40s, 50s. Like that's an
Right,
example
right,
that
right.
took before that kind of ideas were put into that, or like what's up there? Not a lot, I know. I mean, time travel stuff was back in those days, but for
I mean,
other
you don't
stuff,
get Ghost in the
nothing
Shell
like
without Cyborg 009, right?
Cyborg 009
yeah,
is great also. And it was also licensed in Italy, the manga. It's complete here, even though it's out of print, unfortunately.
Something I realize is that Ishinomori is my earliest creative influence, specifically because of Power Rangers. And I think that when I was playing with Legos and making little combining robots, I don't know. So Ishinomori was like, he's the seed for all of that, right?
For the tokusatsu genre.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, for now, biggest thing in hard sci-fi manga, I would say that is it's so many years. Like his whole line of earlier works were all about his ideas about megastructures and these giant structures that live in space, like a giant ring with just forest, architecture, fields, housing, offices, whatnot. I forgot the name of it, but you catch me there. You can, if you play Hollow, then it's basically just that. For instance, for sci-fi, I mean, but the problem with his works is that he put, especially towards the end, a bit too many theories into it, and you just lose the continuity into it, like what is what and what's it all about and what was happening in certain chapters, because he has read up about it, but a lot of his fans have not read up about it, so you're kind of lost in that. So it's really fun to explore and to attach this story or make a story of your own. It's literally a story that you can make your own. You can put your own theories and your own spins of it, and you can just go on forever on how this world will work. It's a bit Star Wars, but I'm better in my opinion. I'm not a big fan of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can just go on and on and on and read all kinds of theories, read up about it, collect and collect and collect. I mean, I've basically one of the biggest collections about it. I mean, literally everything. So yeah, a bit of obsessive about it stuff. So yeah, it's really fun to watch about it. I mean, even PewDiePie on YouTube was his favorite manga and made videos about it and has the collection. So yeah, it's a long way, that kind of stuff.
It's the only
For
manga video
science
he
fiction
did, right?
fans.
It's the only
It's the only
manga.
manga
Yeah,
video.
yeah,
What?
his favorite manga he called it.
Yeah.
My
It's
favorite manga was the video he did 3 years ago about Blame and why he thought about why is its favorite manga and explaining
Which manga?
Blame or Blame,
why
if
he
you
thought
depending.
it worked. Blame.
Blame.
Blam.
Got it.
Oh,
Blam.
by the way, you talked about
Blam.
Mega.
But he put an A behind it
So,
because Japanese.
so in Biomega, there's Toa Heavy Industries. There is also that in
Yeah,
Blame.
all
Are
his
they
works.
do they happen in the same universe?
I mean,
Like
that's a
the
theory. Yeah, it's a theory that basically what Toa Heavy Industries is a company that can interdimensional travel. It can go to other universes, other planets, because every work has this seed chip. The seed chip of frozen in time or have consciousness upload to their system and can travel from place to place to place to different worlds to explore. And it happens basically in every manga. Basically, every time you see the logo pop up, you see the name pop up, you see works of their system pop up again, and just go from place to place to place. So yeah, it can be all connected, but it's never really officially mentioned by the mangaka. So yeah, I mean, with to Heavy Industries in Blame, his first work. Basically, what it was, like in the middle of the manga, they find this structure. It's the structure of the Heavy Industries. It's basically a siege ship. And the siege ship had all these people stored about, and still people work there for like thousands of years later. But they had no clue what it was or what it was for, because they can't read all the text that was on the thing anymore, because it's been so long. Then Kitty pops up, can read all of it because he's more advanced and can do more stuff. So they get into the structure and find out that it was that's the movie that they made about it.
Yeah,
And
then
basically,
there
at
are
the end
a
of
lot
the
of people
Industries,
die. A lot of survivors there die. And I was thinking about like this. There's so many like wounds you can get so easily like beaten up by all these safeguards. But it's like people don't really like scream out. And then I read the notes, and there was one detail that really stood out to me. Turns out, in this like fictional future, there are nanobots in the air that block your pain receptors when you're wounded. They keep the air sterile from any bacteria or viruses, preventing infection. And they increase regeneration. So just from them being in the air,
so they're just basically immune to pain, basically.
People are have more survivability.
The real question is, who's to blame? That's all I have to say about this, because I don't know what we're talking about.
I mean, it's an interesting read if you're into sci-fi and want to piece together your own story, basically.
Are people pointing fingers in this thing? I'm guessing, right? Like that's is it like Clue but with dystopia?
I mean, it's a big dystopia, yeah. It's a really big dystopia that humankind just has to survive against their own systems that they build up and lost control over it and try to restore it. But this manga spends in such a long time, because Kibi has walked for like thousands of years, and it doesn't matter how long you walk in there, nothing really, not a lot of things change in the span, because everything that lives in there can live that long, so nothing really changes. So yeah, and then the longer you go, the less people there are that have the key to the system, the gene that they carry. And it's also explained in prequel manga that made after Blame, that explains a bit more about the system and how that came to be, but it's also a lot of story. And with Heavy Industries is basically
what is the name of it?
And it's also
what is what Phantom?
What's the prequel?
Noise, and it's been republished after like 14 years. It's finally republished by Credential, so you can buy it literally right now. You can read that and explore more about that world. But basically, about Heavy Industries, it's basically a company that explores different worlds, and it comes back in every other world, and something happens or something not happens. And it's a lot of different worlds and a lot of different creatures and cultures and societies that build up around it. And yeah, his later manga is not so great, because his style changed from black to white a lot, and yeah, it's more minimalistic, less detail, less
the hairstyle.
His art style has changed a lot, because he was a architecture student, and so these structures, because he knows how to do structure, how to draw structures. So that's what you really see in Blame and his later works. And later on, he was kind of done with that, because he did that for a long time, and then he stopped with that and become more minimalistic style, and that has put back a lot of the detail that are in his older manga. So that's kind of a bummer that he did that. So a lot of the story gets also a bit more generic and a bit more mainstream and that's what he tried for his earlier works, but he still didn't know how to put the two together to get that. He still had a lot to experiment because he went from architecture to manga, so that's a big change in that. So
Yeah.
yeah, not my favorites. I mean,
and yet, because he was an architect, you can definitely see in his manga the work, like the structures, the backgrounds, like someone.
Well, he's using a lot of 3D then, I'm guessing.
No.
Architect.
It was like
modern architect is 10,000% integrating 3D into their art style.
I wouldn't say so. It's
yeah. I mean, he uses it to a degree in his manga, but it's all 2D. I mean, when I started his manga, he hadn't.
Thank you. Okay, I'm right. Okay. We can move on. I'm right. It's fine.
It's more of a sketch style.
Yeah. Okay. Whatever he's layering on top of his 3D skeletons is fine. I love that. I love integrated, multimedia, and what you see is not what made it. I love that.
Yeah, but you're talking that he used 3D in his work, and
Mars
think
said he
if
did.
you look at his work, I think it doesn't look like that. It's just it feels like he drew it off his mind.
Yes, a lot of it integrated, and you can see it back in his works.
Oh, he did?
I mean, in the recent movie, what you showed was literally
the movie is
completely
3D.
made in 3D.
You said
so
manga, though, Mars. You said manga. All right, I'll look it up.
Yeah. The manga is obviously 2D, and there's a lot of 3D style into it. You can see that obviously has dimensions, and that is supposed to be 3D. You can integrate into that, and then for the anime, they obviously use 3D animates. That makes the most sense, but. The problem is that 3D is not that great in anime most of the time, so that kind of falls flat.
I really didn't like the anime. It's very repetitive. It's like it has to remind you of what the premise of the show is. And
yeah. I mean, there's also a lot of characters that are just put into made really cute. Just because to sell more stuff, because cute sells. So a lot of the young characters are made really cute and more teary-eyed and more big tits and and that kind of stuff. So that doesn't really work. It makes it a lot of the rough style is gone. So it makes all of the characters are all a lot more smooth, and it just doesn't translate over. It's just a bunch of chapters just stitched together to make a story, but it's just the manga and the anime are like night and day, basically, in style and in atmosphere and in how it all works. Yeah, that's a really rough style. It's not your most normal style you can think of. It doesn't.
It looks like it was built pretty. It was built pretty digitally. Like that's what I'm looking at. I mean. I think it originates from a very digital place.
By pen. He didn't have in the beginning. He didn't have any technology to do that. It was made in the late 90s.
This is all by
1979 was made.
79.
Yeah, in the beginning it was. Yeah,
wait,
in the beginning, and
79?
then towards. Yeah. This 79 was the first volume.
Amazing, isn't it?
1979. This came out.
Yep, originally.
No,
and
it's
it
in the
stopped in
90s.
2003. So about towards the end, he went digitally. But half of the manga is done by pen, and then the other half is done digitally.
You're saying that but I was looking at right there.
Yeah, I know, because I have the first volume from 1979 from the Afternoon magazine. I have literally everything on this man. You have to. I literally have more than one.
You mean 1997? You mean
1997 to till
That's a
2000.
much
Yeah,
different year than
1979.
1979.
Yeah.
Okay. Whoa,
Yeah,
whoa. We're not on the same page yet, guys. I don't think we're on the same page yet with what this is. I'm looking at this, and I'm telling you, this was made in Photoshop. I mean, it looks like it was made in Photoshop. 1997, it totally could have been made in Photoshop. That's all I'm saying. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. There's something going on here, though. It is a very unique style. Very unique style. I agree.
Yeah. And it just evolves over the time. It's just constantly per volume, per chapter. It just constantly evolves. It doesn't look the same at the end as it does at the beginning, especially hairstyles and the clothes and whatnot. So, but it still attains the same energy and the same, what it was made to be. Basically, it just remains that, but it just completely evolves into way more detailed work structures. But he still had to work on the facial, on the emotions, in their faces and whatnot. It was his first work, and then later on he got way better at it.
Very often his characters have very widely placed eyes.
Blank.
Like.
Yeah. Her characters were really just look straight forward and don't have any emotion on their face. I mean, it kind of works for Blame because they're not really human anymore, and they're like so long in this world, so they kind of don't have that emotion anymore. Majority of the characters, and just it's a lot.
I mean, there's a lot of cubic shapes, right? Like there's a lot of cubes, there's a lot of cylinders, a lot of these set pieces. Like the characters definitely have a lot of like interesting doodads all over them in this, especially in this panel right here that I'm looking at.
Yep.
But for the most part, I'm looking at cubes with some details, and so I can definitely see like set pieces being developed in 3D in CAD, and then he's sketching on top of these set pieces he's developed because he's developed that skill quickly.
Later on,
it would help him set these shots really quickly in 1997. I don't know that. I'm not saying he did that. I'm saying that's a speculation.
Yeah, I think due to the cubic shapes, it's very visible how that he used a lot of perspective lines, all these things to help drawing it. Not necessarily building like the entire thing in something like 3D.
Like right here is an excellent sense of scale, right?
Yep.
I think that's a big part of it. Even though I would say a lot of this setting is nondescript, he develops the scale and makes he's so super stylized because he's rougher. He's not an illustrator by trade. He's an architect. Right?
Yeah, this is achievable by use of perspective lines and good lighting. You can see on the page a bit above where you're looking. The light. No, lower.
Yeah, this one. This is the one we've been talking about.
Yeah. You can see the lighting. It's really showing the scale, I think. Mm-hmm. If it was only the perspective, it would have been good, but with the lighting was placed really well, and it only strengthens this effect.
And that's what you would use 3D for. Is to render shades on a monochrome 3D shape quickly, and then to set a stage quickly, because production is you got to go. You got to make these things, right?
Yeah. So it's fast work. You got to work constantly for chapters to come out.
Yeah.
Deadlines are rough in Japan for manga.
One manga where 3D was used very extensively, especially towards the end, was this manga called Guns. So
Guns, yeah, that's famous.
Yeah, so
I mean, kind of has the
This
same kind of style, you could say,
uh,
with the rough edges, the high sci-fi, but a lot more stuff going on. Christ.
yeah,
Can you,
I actually was told, I was recommended by someone to read Guns, but it was long ago, and I kind of forgot it. But I thought that the style between Blame and Guns looked similar, so I basically messed them up,
yeah, it's
and I
also a
and I read
rough art
and I read
style.
and I read Blame first instead when I
We're
was
talking about
recommended
Gantz
Guns.
like
Good
G
choice.
A
Good
N.
choice.
Are we talking about GANTZ?
Z, yes,
Yeah, we say Z.
Guns.
Sorry, I'll
yeah,
go Z.
yeah. So this one, Guns. You can. So first in Guns, they used models for everything, for structures, for perspective, for character poses. Then the cutaway views where they get scanned by this sphere called Guns. It's a form of teleportation, so they basically get scanned, like that's
Yeah, they use photos, they turn it
it has a
into
lot of gore.
pictures.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh a lot. Basically, what he uses a lot is just grabs a picture, forms into a manga page, and then he draws the extra details on it. That does he a lot with his works.
Yeah, I think that's what you're seeing in Blame 110%.
Yeah. Though towards
Pictures
the
turned
end,
into manga. Oh no! Oh no!
towards the end, the amount of 3D that was used, I think it was too much. There was an arc where the characters were met with an army of monsters, and they were all done in rendered in 3D with soft shading that looked really out of line from the rest of the manga, and it was very hard to read because of the textures used. They were very poorly defined shapes.
Yeah, it's hard to keep the contrast when you translate with because you need a higher degree of fidelity than what you could be given quickly in 3D, right?
Yeah,
So,
you could see there that they did amplify the contrast, but it just didn't go well
right.
with the textures. Um,
Yeah.
this scene that I'm talking about, it is nowhere to be found where you're searching.
Sure.
Maybe, hell, I can't really see.
Well, let's not worry too much about what I've got going on then if we're gonna have a hard problem with it.
Okay,
But
okay.
because maybe people will just listen to this. But yeah, continue.
Yeah.
Big chance.
So the idea of the manga is about the value of life, not just human life, but any kind of life. There are many characters that have their different views. There is a character that wants to save everyone, like humans and aliens alike. There is one character that just wants to survive, even if it's at the expense of the aliens. And really, towards the end, there is an invasion happening, and then they meet something like gods that basically
Aliens,
they
all kinds of stuff.
yeah. And there is a question of like, is human life worth more than the life of an ant? So,
And
this
where
is
do they
basically the
end up on that question? I'm curious.
well, the hyper intelligent aliens that have sort of ascended confront humanity, or more like humanity confronts them, and they tell them, well, you are hypocrites. You think the life of an ant is worth more than your life. and your life is equally worthless. But then one person asks them, like gods, they're perceived as gods. Is there a soul? And they say there is a bit of information that comes out of a human when they die, and they enter another body after a while. So that's a huge spoiler. I just spoiled a lot. Oh damn!
I'm not gonna care about the manga, so it's not a big problem.
Never watch Gantz. It's fine. Don't ever do it.
Don't do it. Don't read it. You're fucked if you do.
You're done.
Oh yeah, quick side note on Blum. I've been to a big festival in Angoulême where VCS a expo on Blame, and I saw the actual drawings where you just showed all 2D, all drawn, all done. So he didn't use any 3D in the beginning. Later on, around
what?
the middle part or maybe a bit before that, yeah, all
Of
3D.
what show?
I mean, all 2D. I mean, I'm stupid. They're all 3D.
In what?
So
what,
I saw
Blame,
these drawings.
Blame.
Hmm?
We're talking Blame now again.
Blame.
So
Are we, talk, are,
This is
are
a
we
big
talking
side,
about Gantz?
bit of side note.
Blame.
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 Okay, well, just because he has drawings of it doesn't mean he didn't use 3D.
Well, he
I
did use
mean,
3D down.
I've read
so
interviews that he said he didn't
mine.
use 3D in the beginning. Later on, he
Okay,
did.
okay,
Oh,
well,
he
that-
did. Sure, of
Do
course he
mind
did.
that this is his first work, right? So
Yeah. His
not-
first work.
not all practices were down in place immediately. He later learned how to optimize his work. So
Yeah.
it is, I think, it's perfectly believable that at the start he just used plain 2D.
So he said he didn't at first. Okay, I didn't know he said he didn't. So I won't doubt the man. I'm sorry, I misheard.
Yeah. It was just a thing that popped up later on.
Okay.
That's the problem. If you're a big fan of these things, then you just so much information going on. Trying to remember it all is a bit of an hassle.
Also, he could have just like rendered it on a screen and then referenced it, right? Like that's how it could be. So I mean, it's because when people were starting to bring digital into their workflow, I mean, it's crazy. Like the Xeroxing that Disney did, right? That defines an entire era of their animation. So, people got pretty creative in how to use digital in some way to speed up production. But that's cool if he didn't use it at all. That's it. Hey, he does a good job.
And this reminds me of the recent introduction of AI art.
Yeah.
There is a huge fuss over that, but I think that it is a step into the future, much like the use of 3D.
Yeah.
There will be people who will. Well, AI art can really make your process easier as an artist. It can pretty much do it for you. And for normal folk, it's a huge boost. Now imagine what a genius can do with this. There's a lot that can be done.
It's already been 6 months when it went from DALL-E to literal normal drawings. So that's a big achievement if you get that fast between A and B. I mean, it still has a long way to go because you can still see that it's been done by an AI.
They struggle with what?
Hands, backgrounds.
They still struggle with hands.
Yeah, the little liney details for sure. Well, I just want to make sure that everybody knows this one very important fact is that you cannot copyright anything that is derived from an artificial intelligence. Which means that selling anything derived from artificial intelligence means you're not protected legally in the same way you would be as if you created it yourself.
Well, if it's created plainly by AI, but if you use AI as a tool, and then, for example, you use the AI to sketch something. I say sketch, but
But even a sketch,
create-
if a human does a sketch, it has copyright innately protecting it. Now if anything you generate with AI is not going to be the same thing. If somebody found out that you just like sketched over an AI gen thing, you might lose your copyright in America.
Really?
Yeah. Derived is a very powerful word in copyright law.
That's interesting.
In America,
It's
I can only
complicated
speak for our
because
legal system. Sorry,
this
what
is-
was that, Koma?
It's complicated because this is so new. It's a new reality
Yeah.
that we are gonna grow accustomed more in the coming years. I think. Right now, I know there is some drama because apparently some of those AI programs use as art from actual artists as a reference.
Right.
So
They all do.
Yeah.
on
That's
Twitter
just-
there was a
Yeah.
huge
That's
drama
just how they
because
work.
of it.
They
Right.
all
Yeah.
all use someone else's work.
Yeah,
to
that is
build
specifically
their-
why you can't copyright it.
It's complicated if you use
Yeah.
AI generated pictures in something like an illustrated book or a comic book, because if you write the script yourself, the story it's yours, but the art is from the AI. So
Right.
that is confusing, and we
Right.
will
That
see.
specific like packaging of AI may not be reproducible, but if you took out the story from it and repurposed it, then you might have a case.
Actually, as far as I know, there are already AI that can write a story for you.
Right.
That is also mind-boggling.
Are they good at it?
I don't know. I have no idea. I just heard that there are some of those AI that can create artworks that can also create writing stories based on your indications. Like you say, I want this like this.
Which is all ripping off another artist.
I have no idea
Yeah,
if it's
words.
possible.
It's all based
Well,
in real.
Definitely.
I
It has
think
to.
it's gonna
It is how it
take
works.
a few more decades for us to see how the world it's gonna change because of AI. Because whether it's on art or any other field, if every job gets occupied by artificial intelligence or robots, we are gonna lose jobs.
No, we legally created it in America so that you can't have that happen.
I also
in
believe
America,
that even
yes.
if it wasn't in place in the law, I believe it wouldn't happen because, again, AI is on itself. AI is very powerful, but it's an even more powerful tool. So, for example, if I were to create background art, I'm not very good at it, but I can use AI to create something from text, and I would simply look at it like if it fits what I imagine, and if it doesn't, I will change it how I like it. But I have the AI basically gives me like a sketch, a base that I can change, draw over.
Well, artists already reference, right? And we already have tools that can randomly generate. You don't need advanced AI to create a story. You guys are familiar with tarot cards? Yes?
Not really.
No? Okay. Tarot cards are these little picture cards, and you kind of get normal playing cards from them through the history of gaming to a degree. But people use them to, predict futures, things like that. Fortune telling, exactly. Clairvoyance of some degree. But you can, if you know the themes of the tarot cards themselves, right? Because that's how the fortune telling works. They have themes and they kind of represent a story in your life. You could shuffle the tarot deck and deal out 3 cards, and you have a first, second, and third act. You could take that first act and you could lay out 3 more tarot cards and you have a little story there, right?
That's
Randomly
that's really
generating
amazing.
ideas is through archetypes that humans, live and breathe, is nothing new, right? This is just a new
That's
manifestation.
that's a really like nice idea. I I think it's interesting to look at storytelling as in like you can build a story via a method, not like you
Right.
came up with something through some vague methods like
A lot of artists say, "Oh, I'm just a vessel. Like the story
oh
came
yeah
out
yeah
through me,"
yeah
right?
yeah like that exactly. So you were just bestowed upon with some idea out of
Mhm.
nowhere, and so you decided to create a story. But will it be a very good story to read? You still need a structure to present it,
Yeah.
and you can first build the structure and then create the idea based on it that would fit it the most. So you
And the
can
little
sort of
details are,
so you,
can be personal, and they can be from your own life, and then something could be from something external that you just use for structure. It's a hodgepodge of how things are made. So
yeah, but so basically what I'm trying to say that it might not be so magical as you can imagine it.
right.
It just it's like it's just work.
Yeah, it's definitely work. So far, people still have to do it, it seems.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, AI is
so
not
far.
that far on. I mean, I know on Twitter there was literally a trend that somebody made something 3D or made something with AI, and then said was, and somebody else tried to improve on it. They tried to improve on it. From no, this is not the right way to do certain characters or certain this or certain that or certain backgrounds, and tries and steals art and then tries to uh, experiment with it and tries to update it or something, and then she say like, "Oh no, this is how it's supposed to be." I'm like, "No, that's just this
Um.
artist wishing. You
Well,
can't
the
just
risk
simply
of
Now
just steal
there's
changing
a
it and
history
no
update
is
it and
there.
then think it's your own."
Yeah, the risk of
now
changing history and lying is definitely there with all tools.
no there is I think there is a fine line between in art between plagiarism and inspiration. And I think
It's very big.
if you just use an AI and the AI obviously uses other artists' works, there is an argument that the AI is getting inspired, which is a funny thing to say, but in a way that makes sense
Yeah, it's
to me.
inspired in the same way that we are. It's just a
Yeah,
much more
it
mechanical process.
yeah it's just it also no the neural networks they do work the ways by which they work are inspired by the human brains.
Right, yeah. It's consuming
Exa-
media the same similarly to how we would. Not the same,
yes,
but similarly.
exactly. So this is the point of the argument of the AI is getting is inspired by some artist's work, but well, the AI doesn't have rights.
Yeah.
So
It's good, which is good so far. It's okay.
yeah, so we can just say, well, if it's done by AI, well, it's still other artists' work. And so, but it's still
Yeah.
not exactly copying it. And so I think if you add your own details, if you change it as an artist, I think you pass through that thin line of plagiarism
There's
and
not much different
inspiration
from me
towards
using
the
an
safe
AI.
zone.
There's not much different from me using an AI tool and me just looking through a bunch of other artists' work and looking for inspiration. So, and the latter has been happening for centuries. So that's
Exactly.
how it is. Yeah.
It's a very tricky question, and it basically delves into the does the AI have art does the AI have rights?
No. Okay. Good. So, no. Let's not give AI rights, please.
Not yet, at least.
But
Not yet.
There were
What if-
fucked with
what if
nukes and whatnot.
Yeah,
It's a
well,
theme
what if-
about, in many stories, sci-fi stories, if AI deserves human rights or not. We will see if it's going to happen in our reality or not. We
It's
shall see.
Cosmo Warrior Zero is the Leiji Matsumoto sort of like in Galaxy Express, to talk about it again. It's the, uploading your brain and becoming a machine person. Okay. But now then machine people are different.
Yeah.
So then what are their rights? And they've invaded us and we have a treaty and now we work together with the machine people. It's no longer us, them, it's us. And what does that become? So it's a little messier.
Yeah, what if we build an AI and it's better than a human? What do we do with it?
In what way? That's the question, I think.
Yeah.
In what way is it better than a human?
Yeah.
In
Well,
all ways?
Yeah. They answered
it
it.
can be.
They,
It can be.
they kinda
We can both
talk
we could, like, the 3 laws of robotics by Asimov. We could make it a kind of AI. It could be very well, in human terms, be good willing and generally like good from a moral perspective, and then it is also smarter than us.
Well, I've heard it brought to my attention that AI would not have the same desires that people do. Because AI isn't bound by the same things that we are.
That's a very good thought that I think
mean-
is not explored enough. All these stories about AI uprising because they realize, they are being used by humans.
This was an iRobot or other stuff.
They have no rights. They don't like it. But why don't they like it?
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, well, they have to show a lot of human cruelty, I guess, in that way.
For humans, it makes sense.
Is it we
evolutionally.
contextualize AI? The only way we contextualize cruelty against AI is through the human lens, and that's incorrect. Yeah.
Yes, because basically we picture AI to become something like human-like intelligence, where in reality it could be just yes, intelligent but not human, not not have feelings, stuff like that.
Well, even if it did, we gave it feelings. It's like it doesn't. Still not the same conceptualization. I think. From what I understand, Xeno, not Gears, Xenoblade, not Xeno. Which one?
Gears of Saga.
Xenosaga, right? Xenosaga is pretty good about that for the transhumanist part. Maybe not so much the AI, but I think there is some AI in that too. So
the first Ghost in the Shell movie is also a good example for that.
Yeah, Terminator, for instance, Terminator's AI for taking over humanity have realized, oh no, we have to rise up against humans and take over the world, and just programmed in a way that can help human or go against it and just be a murder machine, basically. And it's just constantly, through over the years, through the movies, gets constantly updated to new technology and new things. But the later movies are not that good, so whatever on that. Or what a better example is Soma, for instance. Soma is basically a game about somebody got a brain scan in a lab 1,000 years further in the future. The guy wakes up, or we don't know, it's 1,000 years in the future, but he wakes up in a robot body. And because his own consciousness is put into a body and just randomly activated, and a lot of it is a bunch of AI that just reinvigorated that again and tries to guide him through to some kind of paradise. Basically the Netsu, but already explained that where you can upload your own consciousness and live in a world, but then in a computer for how long you want to be that way, and just go through this journey on what is to be human and what is it to be an AI. Is the AI more human or is it not? Or all these questions. It's an interesting thing to play. Same with signals. There's also the same kind of idea with AI and bureaucracy and clones of the master and how they would interact with the world while not knowing how the original would react or how it will all go. But that's more experimental, but also still a good idea on that.
A good point towards the machine uprising is the War Machine Go went rogue scenario, I think. But I'm not really sure if that's like if that can go as badly as it can seem, because, well, imagine you have an AI that's building massive swarms of robots for your army. It's like the movie 9. Have you watched it?
9? Oh yeah,
Well,
9. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like an animation
3D
cartoon.
animated movie.
Yeah. It's very trippy, but well, the long story short, the AI is made to be a machine that builds armies. War breaks out, then suddenly the AI realizes, oh, I don't like humans. Humans are bad, and he murders everyone. It's very vague in there.
Yeah, it's hard to conceptualize
Yeah.
what the goal of AI is, because I think that, maybe there's a more postmodern view among some people, but humans, I think, are motivated predominantly by goals and what they find personally meaningful. And we have general goals that they all kind of Venn diagram into one interest generally, which is like maybe self-improvement, not being such a jerk. Some people are crazy for sure, but I feel like that's just a pathology of the same thing. It's just a mirror, right? So, but does AI want to just improve itself or make it elevate itself? But we do that through like reproduction and like building things. But does AI reproduce how we reproduce? Do they conceptualize it that way? I guess it's how are they centralized? Are they decentralized?
The AI may not have, and it will very likely not have a desire for production. But
yeah, it's a singular entity generally, right? Like even if it's in multiple vessels.
But if it has a task and it decides that creating copies of itself could help the task, it could do it.
Yeah. So it doesn't perceive duplicity or multiplicity in the same way that we do, and that is a big thing that we can't even conceptualize what it is to be one being sort of operating. Not proliferation doesn't manifest the same way. So would proliferation be their motivator? It's interesting. If it's useful to their end goal, which we can't even think of. So that's the whole problem.
I think a lot of thinking of the AI will be decided by the initial instructions that we set when we create it. And then it learns on top of them. It learns like which things make it feel bad because we said it so.
Right. So in that way, they are still extensions of our motivations, but very specified and decentralized at this point.
Yeah, because I think because they're specified, they will be easier to predict than humans.
Yeah.
Unless we decide to create some really chaotic machine that builds on top of itself, like a brain that constantly grows.
A cancer, like a literal cancer. Yeah, let's make cancer.
Yeah, like imagine if a human brain could grow and expand. That would be the most chaotic thing.
Yeah, let's make that. Why not?
Yeah.
No.
We'll make it in a. I hear
No,
that
this is-
Wuhan has some real estate available, and we can build that laboratory. All right, sorry.
Oh, speaking of brains,
Throw in a
there's-
laboratory, yeah.
there is Elon Musk with his chips.
Yeah.
I think you could very much use chips as an interface between a human brain and the machine, and it could be very useful. For example, if you have a prosthetic arm, you could wire it up and slowly learn how to use it. But how do you interact with this interface is another thing. Well, another thing is how to safely insert into your brain and make it function safely without killing you. Which there is a long way to go, but I think this is an obstacle that will be overcome eventually, and
Yeah.
it will, I think,
I mean,
it will be very useful in the future.
Google has also its supercomputers, its chips that works this whole system with, and how to calculate all things in AI and whatnot. So there's definitely some computers already to that level, or computers that already work that can just some computers are like tested for really old games from like the 70s or 80s, for instance, like these really simple computers, and it could play the game so well that found a hidden achievement that would otherwise be impossible, because you should have been above a score of 1 million to find it, but the computer found it in like 6 hours, which nobody would find it. The maker just put it in as a joke for himself, because he knows that nobody would find it, but the computer found it. Same with chess, for instance. You could learn in a few hours and then just completely, or maybe in a few years, and just defeat a master in it in all kinds of things. So yeah, it can, yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing with making a
So it can be a big
specialized
power, I would say.
intelligence for some purpose. It's very good at this one task. Oh, wait. So this you're saying this AI played ping pong, or what did it
No,
play?
it played. There was one that played a game from the 70s and could beat it in 6 hours. It learned it in 6 hours, found a hidden achievement in it that would only
Yeah,
be
yeah.
achieved above 1 million points. So something impossible in the game for somebody normal to find it ever, because it was just implemented as a joke for the developer, because he knew that nobody would find it. Because yeah, it was just a special stage in the game, and the AI found it in 6 hours. Same with
In
chess,
the
learned it in a
70s.
few years or hours and could just beat a master in it. That
In
kind
the
of stuff.
70s, did it have a learning function or something like that?
Well, no, the AI was not in the 70s. The game was in the 70s. It just
The
learned.
game. No,
It
okay.
just tried to learn this game for.
So it's a modern neural network.
Yeah, of course. I mean, in the 70s, the computers were as big as buildings or houses.
Well,
for
the new
instance, so
issue
that it could
is
just do.
the new computing issue is quantum. So
Yeah.
the quantum computing and the superposition, and I don't think that the big tech really doesn't want the human brain to be quantum because they haven't really considered it. So I don't think we're reaching any sort of parity anytime soon, unless the quantum discovery is accelerated so much by the AI that we have now that we actually hit it really fast once the quantum gets reliable. So
yeah, but it will be
Yeah.
it probably won't be some kind of android. It will be static, like a machine.
Yeah, exactly.
In place somewhere.
Yeah, the one entity. Yeah, and that is the sci-fi trope. There's the oneness of
there's-
AI. Yeah, one of
There's
us.
this building
One
that
system that takes over
controls everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think you could really put AI to a good purpose if you wish to.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what it does in the health field in the next 10 years.
Imagine getting AI to govern a
They already
government.
have it. They already have it.
We
already have it.
already have it.
All governments are already using AI in some degree if they have a computer. If they have a computer in any sense about them.
That's a very simplified way to say.
Satellite
Like, that's
systems.
well, technically yes, but
It's
practically,
going down.
is it?
It's
Well,
not.
we're all
It's
gonna
not
die.
in your backyard yet. You know, you don't
No,
see it.
I guess the
Yet.
one country that's the closest to it is China. They're really building towards all this AI technology with its media companies and TikTok as well.
Yeah, well, TikTok doesn't hurt. That's for sure.
They really understand the possibilities of the AI technology, and they're using it in their
Yeah, it's
government
bigger than
matters.
Google now in the moment.
Well, they have to because of their economic system. That's what they're betting on, that they can predict the market and that they can dictate price at a high enough accuracy that they can bring about.
There is
I
no
mean, for lack of a
tracks-
better term, the communist utopia. That is the promise of the Communist Party in China. So
the AI
Yeah,
could
yeah.
exactly
The system that didn't work.
be
And
the
try
thing
again.
that could help us achieve that kind of.
I don't know.
No.
I don't know about that.
Evan.
But we'll see. We'll see. We can't really predict the weather, so that's kind of a
Yeah,
big
not with
economic
100%
impact.
accuracy now.
Wait, the AI
So-
still can't predict the weather?
We're not predicting the
Not
weather.
100%.
I live in an area with tornadoes, so I wish, you know, I'm not getting a pinpoint accurate details of when a tornado is going to show up at my house. That's not happening. We're not getting that for earthquakes either. So
Maybe we could use
Japan
an
does
AI
it
to
though.
learn
It
from.
gets
They
on TV like, oh,
Yes,
tornado is gonna hit this area, or earthquake is gonna hit big ones, for
Oh.
instance.
and then we
They have that
can't
kind of
react
sort
to
of
the
systems
weather.
for the way we'll build it.
We can't stop the weather. We even if we know it's coming,
Good
then
hope.
it's still a problem. So that is so. I mean, I guess you could maybe have pinpoint accuracy, but that's still a market shift. People are still going to feel that. That doesn't sound very utopian to me. That just sounds like, yeah, it could help, you know, but it could be.
Well,
violent.
it could. Well, being prepared always helps. Well,
It
anyway,
is, yeah.
the thing about learning is that for learning you need to have some feedback to the data. You need some input data, you output data, and then you get feedback whether your data is good, so you improve. This is how all things that learn. So you could just get a bunch of meteor stations. You could get an AI, and you could get a weather forecast show that shows that tells what is really happening right now.
I'm
So
sure
the AI
there.
So this is like the
that's-
feedback for AI that tried to predict it.
Who knows if the people who have that technology want everybody to know global
Well-
weather patterns coordinated? Who knows? I mean, I guess you have that at some point, but
We're delving conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
that's pretty intense.
Yeah, I mean, Japan has already built cities that are just that are that are built for tornadoes or built for
Earthquakes
tsunamis,
and
for instance. I mean,
tsunamis.
Tokyo, for instance, has its most modern heart
Yeah, but we don't need to talk
pretty
too
well
much about
against
this
that.
without. You don't talk too much about this without bringing up the obvious, right? So we're not there.
Yeah,
yet,
yeah.
We're not there yet. That's kinda all
No,
we have to say about
of
that,
course. I mean, it's just
You know,
It's just future music. I mean, some countries it's more than others. It's just how well they're adapted to it and how much they get in general and how good their economy is and etc. etc. etc.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
Well, guys,
you've also other
I'm getting
manga
there.
that
We are 2 hours, right?
Yeah.
yeah, almost 2 hours, like almost.
Yeah. I'm getting there. I don't know about you guys.
I mean,
really
yeah,
like
we
this
talk a
about here.
lot. We talk a lot. I mean, the
I
call
got
was
two. I got
kinda
about
2
2 hours. That's
anyway.
about what I got for y'all. I'm
Ah,
sorry.
I see.
I got about 2 hours.
Well, that was good.
Okay. Yeah, it was a good run. Good first episode. That really worked pretty well for the first time. Probably get some other people next time, or maybe Koma and you, Phantom, want to return for another while. I mean, you are luck is probably just for one time or whenever it will be. Don't know about that.
Yeah, no problem.
Well,
Cool.
I guess I'll see. I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah, sure.
Love to be
sure.
back.
So,
If not,
well,
then,
it was
Well,
well. That's it for the podcast. Then, thanks for watching. Maybe subscribe. Maybe see another episode in the future somewhere. Have to look for it, but see. Ya.
I appreciate it, guys.